So a very good evening to all brothers and sisters in the room. Today is the 15th July 2021. It's a Thursday class. We shall be continuing from this book, The Essence of Infinite Meaning, Teachings from the Adapted Verses of the Sutra of Infinite Meaning, 无量义经. We are at page 318. Just relax body and mind and maintain some more attention. So as usual, we are off the light. Then you can have your half an hour of awareness-based meditation. Just relax body and mind. Maintain awareness. Stabilize it for as long as you can. Then use it to meditate. Then the last support is trust. So awareness-based meditation is very simple if you understand. The moment you are without thought, you're already aware. So don't try to be aware. Don't try to do anything. You just silence your mind. Relax, maintain awareness, silence your mind. Don't do anything. Don't try to know. Don't try to verbalize or do anything through the thought process. Just relax, maintain awareness until the awareness nature become very stable, very clear. For those who have not trained, initially you tend to have a lot of thinking, mental activity, heedless thinking, because you lack order when you are living your daily life. You do not have the spiritual faculty developed. And because of that, the mental hindrance are there. It will hinder your mind from entering the meditative state. So throughout the daily life, you are heedlessly thinking, creating all the stirring and reaction of mind with all the mental hindrance there to cause the hindrance to become so habitual. It's very difficult for you to have the mind that is peaceful, quiet, and just aware. That's why it's called mental hindrance. It hinders your mind from entering the meditative state of inner peace, inner calmness, and inner awareness. Because of that, you can't. So that sankhara activity, the carryover from your daily life, the heedless thinking, your lack of stability of mindfulness and awareness in the midst of life will cause you to arise all this sankhara activity. But as long as you understand, acknowledge it, do not react to it, it's okay. Let it arise. Then your duty is to train. Train means relax, maintain awareness. Whatever arises, aware, finish. Whatever arises, aware, finish. If you are patient enough, after a while, your mind should settle down. The sankhara activity, the thinking, or the movement of thought, they will slowly slow down and finally cease. You have to experience that. When you experience it slowing down, your awareness nature will know. And all of a sudden, when it ceases, you will experience the shift in consciousness. Suddenly, you become very quiet, very peaceful, and just aware with it still. That is your true mind. So the purpose of awareness-based meditation is to train your mind to develop this awareness within, then stabilizing it to realize your silent mind, your true mind, which is the meditative mind. You can slowly, mindfully come out of the meditation and try to maintain whatever inner peace, inner calmness, and inner awareness that you have developed for as long as you can. These are the mind state that you have developed, and you need them to live life, to develop the daily mindfulness in the midst of life. so that you can stabilize it and become heedful. Okay. The Sutra of Infinite Meaning states, at that time, great magnificent Bodhisattva Mahasattva again said to the Buddha, "Well honored one, you have taught this wondrous, profound, unsurpassed great vehicle, Sutra of Infinite Meaning. Truly is very profound, very profound, very profound. We should know that this sutra is true in words and principle and supremely honored. It is safeguarded by all Buddhas of the three period of time. By hearing it only once, one is enabled to uphold all Dhamma. If sentient beings hear this sutta, it is to their great benefit. Why is this so? If they train accordingly, they will readily attain Anuttara Samyat Sambodhi, which is the Sammasambuddha's nature. Okay, we go to the commentaries. In the beginning of the chapter on 10 merits, great magnificent Bodhisattva addressed the Buddha, praised the Sutra of Infinite Meaning by saying, truly it is very profound, very profound, very profound. It is very rare to see such repeated emphasis on the profundity of a sutra's meaning. Presenting the Sutra of Infinite Meaning in this way demonstrates the greatness of its significance and its impact on the human mind. Truly, the Buddha Dharma can benefit all people. However, the Buddha was born in India, lived in the human race for 80 years and taught the Dhamma for only, here they put 49 years. There's a slight discrepancy between Mahayana and Theravada. According to Theravada, he left the palace at the age of 29. 6 years later, which is the age of 35, he became enlightened underneath the Bodhi tree. Then he taught until 80 years old. So 80 minus 35 is about 45. Never mind. The Mahayana tend to put it 49. I don't know why. Within the Buddha's limited lifetime, even the people living in India did not all have the opportunity to hear the Buddha teach. Not to mention all of those in the rest of the world and all the future multitude of sentient beings. Since the Buddha has passed this sutra on to us, we should also cherish and safeguard it. Therefore, when the Buddha taught the Sutra of Infinite Meaning, he repeatedly reminded everyone, we should know that this sutra is true in words and principles and supremely honored. He was clearly telling us that every word and every sentence in this sutra is a valuable truth that can be applied to everything living. Such great truths are safeguarded by all Buddhas of the three periods of time. All Buddhas of the past, present, and future followed these principles and safeguarded this sutra. Similarly, great magnificent Bodhisattva hoped that the profound unsurpassed great vehicle Sutra of Infinite Meaning could be widely spread throughout the world. Then all future generations will hear it, practice it, speak of it, and share it with one another. Because by only hearing it once, one is enabled to uphold all Dhamma. When one hears a verse from this sutra, one can learn and understand many principles. This is one of the ways in which sentient beings benefit from this sutra. If sentient beings hear this sutra, It is to their great benefit. Why is this so? If they train accordingly, they will readily attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, because this sutra is suitable for the varying capacity of mind-right sentient beings. It will be of great benefit to everyone who can hear its teaching. Furthermore, by dwelling into the content of this sutra and putting it into practice, everyone can readily attain the unsurpassed Bodhi. So this is very important. Uh, this sutra is very unique. That's why when the Buddha actually started the teaching, Sutra Infinite Meaning, he started with chapter 1. Chapter 1 is on virtue, virtue of great beings, Bodhisattvas, Sama Sambuddhas. So this chapter on virtue actually define very clearly what that supreme mind is all about, what that true mind is all about. What are the mind states of a virtuous being, a cultivator? Their mind are always tranquil, still, peaceful, with joy and all those things. Then how this great virtue can help others, can enable them to develop wisdom, perfection, to fulfill their vows and all these things. And after that, chapter 2 is proclamation of the teachings. So proclamation of the teaching of the Dhamma is to enable you to teach, to share. And the greatest emphasis is you need to really expose yourself to all the vast, different capacity of sentient beings at different uh, time and civilization. And because the universe continue to evolve unendingly, civilization, the capacity and nature of sentient beings are very, very different. And you don't have enough exposure or interaction with all this existence and the beings to witness, to observe, to understand their karmic background, their karmic conditioning. There is no way you can really come out and teach and share, because living beings are really, really a complex being of varying capacity and capability and karmic background and conditioning. So because of this, the second chapter, proclamation of Dhamma, actually enable the cultivator to understand the amount of work they have to put in, the amount of exposure they have to go into, and they have to penetrate all Dhammas. And they really have to go through all the vast learning and training. And after that, finally, is this chapter 3, regarding the 10 merits. These are special qualities, special merits that needs to develop in order to have that capacity to become Sammasambuddhas. So the Sutra Infinite Meaning is a very complete sutra, very complete in its teaching, and all his teaching are so unique because every stanza, every sentence can be transformed into infinite teachings, covering all aspects that a cultivator will need when they come out and become Sammasambuddha to teach or to share. So these are the uniqueness. So we move on to the next adapted verse. The Dhamma is heard through the ears and taken in by the mind. When we reflect on the Dhamma, we will act to benefit others. By listening to, contemplating, and practicing the Dhamma, we will benefit ourselves and others equally. If we do not hear the Sutra of infinite meaning, it will be a great loss to us. We may take perilous path, means dangerous path, not knowing that the great path of Bodhi to Bodhi is straight, means dangerous perilous path. Path means you go on the wrong track. In Mandarin, they call it 千万不要走冤枉路 means how you translate English 冤枉 so, you don't go and walk the path that deviate and cause you a lot of problem until you get lost for a long period of time. So that one is like you're wasting your time. Is that road that you take is actually causing you a lot of problem and wasting a lot of your time. If we do not hear the Sutra infinite meaning, it will be a great loss to us. We may take perilous path, not to know that the great path to Bodhi is very straight, very simple. This is very true. If you are not clear about the Dhamma, the teaching, you will deviate and you will do a lot of funny things, stupid things, develop a lot of wrong training, get caught in thought-based meditation, cultivating the wrong thing. Just like my nature always share, truth is very simple. In actual fact, Dhamma is very simple when you understand, because when you have clarity, when you understand it the way it is, it's actually very straightforward. Nothing complicated, nothing esoteric and authority, like very difficult to comprehend. No, they are in fact direct truth. Very, very clear, direct, straightforward truth. When you are able to penetrate the cultivation, you will understand what my nature say. Then you will see clearly, actually it's very simple. That's why the teaching, if you meet somebody who understands the teaching, he can explain to you very clearly. And from the explanation, you don't have to go through all the wrong practice and training and deviation from the actual cultivation. But nowadays, it's not easy for the world to really find a cultivator or a great being that really have that understanding to guide you, to train you, to explain all this to you. Because the Dhamma is actually very simple and very straightforward, even though it's very profound. But if you can encounter somebody who has the understanding, this profound, wonderful teaching can be explained, simplified, and become very easy to comprehend and understand. That's why you must have Kayamitasship. We must have Dhamma friends who have the Dhamma, so that you can actually have the causes and conditions to learn them, to develop them. Then the other thing is to have great affinity with the triple gem. Then to seek all the great beings, blessing, protection, and guidance. Then you must be able to make the aspiration, the adhitan, affirmation, invoking power of merits, wholesomeness, and virtue. to have all this Dhamma understanding, right view, that are very essential and vital for your progress. Because without all this, it's very difficult. Everywhere you come without the sasana, most of the cultivator get lost, can't find the way. Then after a long time only they can come back. So all these are the reason why having a good guide, a good teacher, having true Kayamitas or Dhamma friend who has the Dhamma to guide you, to explain things to you, are very important. So what the Sutra say is very important and it's very true. The actual Dhamma is very straightforward. To realize enlightenment, Bodhi is very straightforward. But the problem with human beings is you can't find such teacher. Well, nowadays it's very rare, very rare. So if you can find one, then at least better than none. Huh? So all this you will come to understand as you walk the path, as you develop your own understanding, training, and awakening. When the Dhamma is being taught, we listen to it with our ears. If we are intelligent and have sharp capabilities, we will be able to absorb all this precious teaching and truth. In addition to being heard through the ears, the Dhamma must also be taken in by the mind, means the understanding part. The mind must understand it. Only when the Dhamma penetrates our mind can we attain or realize any realization. This is like watering plant. The water must penetrate the surface of the ground and go deeply into the soil to moisten the roots. Only then can the plant fully absorb the water. After we take the teaching, assimilate the teaching into our mind, we must reflect on the Dhamma. See, second turning wisdom. We must listen to it, contemplate it, and reflect on it, then practice it. These are the three turnings. While constantly reflecting on it, then we must try to match this principle to the content of our modern everyday life, thus unifying what we listen to, what we contemplate, and what we put into practice. Afterwards, we must further act to benefit others by going into the community and helping those in need. When we put our heart into guiding others in a timely manner and help improve their life, we are also developing our own wisdom life, because life itself is the meditation, is where the Dhamma is. Truth is everywhere in the midst of life and nature. That's why you must go into life. This is what it means to benefit ourselves and others equally. After the Buddha attained enlightenment, he realized how the Buddha Dharma could be of great benefits, and thus aspired to go among people to transform sentient beings and benefit all, to adapt to everyone's defilement, to adapt to everyone's different capacities. He gave various teaching. The great vehicle Dhamma guides sentient beings to engage with and live among people, transforming themselves and others. When sentient beings could not comprehend the great vehicle Dhamma, the Buddha taught them the middle vehicle Dhamma, explaining how all the things are empty in nature. If they could not accept this either, he would teach the small vehicle Dhamma, which enable people to understand the frightening consequence of creating karma, thus preventing them from committing wrongdoing. So whenever we learn a good teaching, we must willingly and happily share it with others. then not only will we benefit from the Dhamma, but others will as well. This is what can be attained from listening to the Dhamma. So if we do not hear the heart, if we do not hear the Sutra of infinite meaning, it will be a great loss to us. We may take perilous path, not knowing that the great path to Bodhi is straightforward, very direct. If any sentient beings have not yet heard this teaching, or if they have heard it but do not accept or understand the Dhamma, or if they have never even heard of it, it will be a great loss to them. Confucius gave a teaching for living in this world that shares the same principle. He once said to Zilu, a man who would fight a tiger with his bare hand, cross a river without aid, and who would have no regret if he were killed, is not a man that I would want with me. This means that a person who would blindly move forward without following the principles, or someone who would not repent or change, even if he put himself in danger, is not someone Confucius would want to travel with. On the other hand, if a person is clear about the principles, follow rules and acts with propriety, he will be able to go through life as if walking on a smooth, broad and straight path. This person will not only be able to protect himself, but he will also be able to benefit others. Yet many people do not do this. Some are afraid of hearing the Dhamma because they think that after they hear it, they must abide by the teaching and precepts, like becoming a vegetarian and so on. They would feel uneasy if they broke the precept. So they simply choose not to listen to the Dhamma. By choosing to abandon the broad path and take the perilous path instead, it will be a great loss. This comes from not knowing that the great path to Bodhi is rather straightforward. Bodhi means enlightenment. The path to enlightenment is straightforward, smooth, and easy to walk without twists or turns or rocky patches. The Sutra of Infinite Meaning is a teaching that is always present in the world and continue to be spread among people. If we can listen to it and accept it, then we will clearly understand the principle of this world. For instance, the chapter on the 10 merits point out many of the erroneous understanding and views we may hold. It also teaches the methods of spirituality and spiritual cultivation that will enable us to transform our mind so that negative thought can be turned into positive ones. Thus, the Buddha Dharma teaches us way of living in this world. I often speak of the need to apply the Buddha Dharma in our daily living and serve as living bodhisattva in the world. 人间菩萨. Everyone can be a bodhisattva as long as we say things that are in accord with the principles and put the Dhamma into practice. We are walking on the path and following the teachings of the Sutra. So this is a very beautiful understanding. The intrinsic nature of all Buddha has no past, present, or future. All Dhamma exists inherently. It is non-arising and non-ceasing. Buddha always used this Dhamma to nourish the wisdom life of sentient beings. They compassionately keep all sentient beings in their thought and under their protection, and will never abandon them. The Sutra are a path, which is a road to walk on. People who walk this path in the world must abide by rules and principles. They must not cross the line even slightest. When speaking the Buddha nature, we cannot draw distinction between the past, present, and future. It has always been so. It has always existed. So it neither arises nor ceases. And it is neither increased nor decreased. Thus, the intrinsic nature of all Buddhas have no past, present, and future. It is not only Buddha nature, this life, like this. Similarly, all Dhamma exists inherently. All Dhamma, all principles fundamentally have the same essence as Buddha nature. Therefore, all are non-arising and non-ceasing. Everyone is born with a pure intrinsic nature that has the same essence as Buddha nature. And all Dhamma, so it also has no distinction between past, present, and future, and is also non-arising and non-ceasing. It is no different in humans than in any living beings. This is the equality of all beings that the Buddha wanted to teach us. As the Buddha could not bear to let sentient beings suffer, he wanted to liberate us all from suffering. He wanted to help ignorant sentient beings who are living in delusion, who only knew to be greedy and indulgent, and were unaware of the law of nature. So he investigated the causes behind social division, the disparity between the wealthy and the poor, and the impermanence of life seen in the process of birth, old age, sickness, and death. This was why he left the palace to engage in spiritual practice. Eventually, he discovered the truth. The Buddha nature is the wisdom inherent in all sentient beings. It is just that we sentient beings are unaware of it. Therefore, the Buddha taught the Dhamma in the world in order to inspire sentient beings to discover their intrinsic nature so that they would no longer be deluded or confused by the mind-right phenomena in the world. But because sentient beings are obstructed by their own foolishness and ignorance, the Buddha established various teachings in the hope that everyone can use this Dhamma to nourish their wisdom life and eliminate these obstructions, these are coming obstructions. He hoped that people would continually apply the Buddha Dhamma in their daily life to constantly nourish their wisdom life and develop compassion in their heart. So all Buddhas compassionately keep all sentient beings in their thought and under their protection and will never abandon them. However, humans are often foolish and ignorant. This is rather true. If they see an opportunity for profit, they will exploit the mountain and rivers, weakening the land and create the potential for great disaster or the great destruction. They really do not understand that sentient beings share collective karma. Once a disaster occurs, it brings about irreversible damages. When Typhoon Sinlaku struck Taiwan in the year 2008, Nantou country's Lucerne district was severely impacted. The water level rose so high that foundations along the coast were ripped out. Houses were swept away and a large hotel was toppled. The losses were immense. With the flooding from the heavy rain, landslides stripped the mountain to the bedrock. The natural beauty of the mountain were altered beyond recognition in a flash. This disaster made people realize the fragility of their homeland, and the impermanence of life. According to report from Thai TV, there was a volunteer helping out after the disaster struck. He was a member of the Sutra Police, Fire and Family Association. He had been working on the front line of disaster relief and did not go home for nearly 2 weeks. Not only did he fulfill his duty as a policeman, he also honored the spirit of the Sutra Police Association as he worked to help people. In an interview, he said, Master Cheng Yen taught us that we must feel the pain of others and empathize with their suffering. See how severe the disaster was. I couldn't bear to leave those in need of help. Other police officers also mentioned that even though their own house had been buried by landslide, at such a critical time, they were all willing to transform their limited love into great love by staying at their posts and devoting themselves wholeheartedly to disaster relief. Seeing that the elderly and children who were being evacuated were not strong enough to cross the river or the rushing water by themselves, the policemen either helped them across or carried them across. Only a great love that comes from deep within could inspire people to give of themselves so selflessly. As long as people constantly use the Dhamma to nourish their wisdom life and develop their compassion, they will naturally vow to help protect all sentient beings. Like the Buddha, they will compassionately keep all sentient beings in their thought and under their protection and will never abandon them. When we engage in spiritual practice, we must exercise both compassion and wisdom. Only when we apply what we learn will we be able to truly comprehend it. Therefore, the Sutra are a path, which is a road to walk on. People who walk this path in the world must abide by rules and principles. If we can awaken to the principles and live out our life in line with them, then we are practicing the teachings of the Sutra every day. So we act in accordance with the Dhamma, the Sutra, and the path. We can live under the law of nature without going astray. Living in this world, we need to be on the right course. If we deviate from it even slightly in the microcosm of our lives, it can cause us lifelong regret. And if we cause a slight change in the microcosm of the natural world, it can lead to major disaster. For example, scientists have been continuously reminding and warning us that if humans keep generating the carbon dioxide, the greenhouse effect will worsen, causing a rise in the average global temperature. This will cause the polar ice cap to melt and cause further imbalance in the climate, resulting in disaster all over the planets. So in our daily living, we must abide by rules and principles. We must not cross the boundary even slightest. If our mind deviates from the right course by even a little bit, we are likely to act in a way that creates negative karma. But if everyone in the world cares for themselves, follow the right principles, and maintain the proper perspective, then the four elements will remain in balance and nature will not be harmed. Hence, we should not take lightly the power of our own small action. Since ancient time, the true principles, the rules of practice, and the three Dhamma has not changed. Wondrous existence is everlasting. Throughout his life, the Buddha taught the Dhamma, using himself as an example. He talked about the appearances and principles of things and matter in the world, and taught sentient beings to practice the Four Noble Truths and the 12 links of cyclical existence, and to cultivate and uphold the six perfections in myriad subtle actions. By practicing in accordance with the Dhamma, we can experience and comprehend matters and principles. With every experience, we grow in wisdom. This is very true. Huh? With every experience, we grow in wisdom. And the other sentence is also very true. By practicing in accordance with the Dhamma, we can experience and comprehend methods and principles. Because when you are mindful and heedful, you can observe them very clearly. Then you can understand the truth, the nature's law that governs life and existence. So all this will become very clear. The Buddha's teachings are timeless, unchanging, true principles that are inseparable from the threefold Dhamma. The teachings of the Dhamma, the practice of the Dhamma, and the realization of the Dhamma. So these three are the three phases of Dhamma. Huh? Pariyatti, which is the learning of the teaching. Then Patipatti is putting the teaching into practice. Then Pativeda is the fruition of it, the realization of the teachings. Practicing the threefold Dhamma allows us to realize the subtle and wondrous existence within emptiness. Wondrous existence is the everlasting, unchanging, intrinsic nature of the mind, the Buddha and all sentient beings. Everyone has the same inherent Buddha nature, which neither increases nor decreases, neither arises nor ceases. Pure is the unconditioned. The Buddha has always returned to his pure intrinsic nature or pure nature within and attained enlightenment. But for the sake of educating and guiding sentient beings, he sailed the ship of compassion back to this world and manifest the appearance of a full human life. Throughout his life, the Buddha taught the Dhamma, using himself as an example. By the way he conducted his life, summarized as the 8 aspects of the Buddha's life: descending from Tusita heaven, entering the womb, being born, leaving home, and the lay life, overcoming Mara, attaining enlightenment, expounding the Dhamma, and entering Parinibbana. He taught us how to engage in spiritual cultivation. By manifesting this process as a teaching, he helps sentient beings understand how, through observing the delusion and conflict in life, that's why you need mindfulness, through observing. When you can observe how delusion, condition, conflict in life, they can find true principles. Means you can understand the truth. The Buddha also taught us that everything in the world is empty by nature. Life is like a dream or like dew on the grass. Since life is impermanent, what is there for us to take issue over? This is how the Buddha gradually guided sentient beings who were suffering and confused to understand the Dhamma. However, if sentient beings become attached to the concept of emptiness, they will easily become pessimistic and passive. So the Buddha further explained the principles that within true emptiness is wondrous existence. Everyone inherently has a pure intrinsic nature. By returning to this true nature, we will be able to clearly understand the true principles of all things in the universe. After the Buddha thoroughly realized the true principle, He talked about the appearances and principle of things and matter in the world. His intention was to explain to sentient beings the state of Buddhahood and his fundamental realization that everyone have the same intrinsic nature as the Buddha. But this Dhamma was too profound. Even heavenly beings could not comprehend it, let alone ordinary beings of this world. So the Buddha began by talking about worldly matters, principles, and appearances to explain why so many kinds of things happen in this world. He first taught sentient beings to understand the karmic law of cause and effect. This is the first aspect of the threefold Dhamma, the teachings of the Dhamma. After sentient beings have understood the Dhamma, the Buddha then began teaching them how to practice the Dhamma, to practice the Four Noble Truths, the dwelling of cyclical existence, and to cultivate and uphold the six perfections in numerous subtle actions. These are our objective in spiritual practice. We sentient beings transmigrate in the sixth rhyme. Our karmic causes and conditions are all inseparable from the process of the dwelling of cyclical existence. So after clearly understanding the law of karma and resolving to engage in spiritual cultivation, we must adopt certain methods of practice. The methods are the six perfections. In our daily life, every time we open our mouth, take the smallest action, or give rise to the slightest thought, we have the opportunity to manifest the six perfections in my right, subtle ways. Hence, I often say that we must always be mindful. That's why sati, mindfulness, awareness. This is a practice of the Dhamma, the way we progress in our spiritual cultivation. After we form aspiration and make vow to practice in accordance with the Dhamma, we can naturally experience and comprehend matters and principles. This is the last of the threefold Dhamma, the realization of the Dhamma. This is the point in our spiritual cultivation where we discover that the Buddha's teaching and principle can actually be found in our action, and thus feel a great sense of Dhamma joy. Why is it that Sutra volunteers are still willing to dedicate themselves to this work even when they are sweating and exhausted? Because they already know the true principles. That is the reason why they seize every moment to quickly take action. They work to accomplish things that will allow people in the present day to find peace of mind and allow people in the future to live in safety. At one time, a group of Japanese visitors came to Tsuchi, and when they visit the Jingshi exhibition hall, they learned that following the 9/21 earthquake, check the notes. You go to the notes, note 45. Oh, this is the earthquake that occurred in September 21, 1999. Yeah? Okay. Tsuchi rebuilt 50 local schools in 2 years. We insist that each of the buildings be constructed with steel frame, ensuring safety for the student. The visitor admired this greatly. When they visited Tsuchi University and saw the facilities of the silent mentors and surgical simulation, they were touched by the mentors' final act of generosity, their willingness to donate their body as a contribution to medical education. Afterwards, as they learned more about Tsuchi's four missions of charity, medicine, education, and humanistic culture, they become even more amazed at the way in which religious principles were brought together with a modern science. In fact, the Buddha's teaching have always been about uniting methods and principles. The Buddha taught us that the world goes through the four states of formation, existence, decay, and disappearance. This tells us that in the future, the world will experience disaster again and again. Based on what we see from the disaster in our current era, we know that the principles expressed in the Buddha Sutra are not empty words. This is why so many Tzu volunteers willingly devote themselves wholeheartedly to Tzuchi's work. They do this in order to bear witness, to experience and comprehend methods and principles. Merely knowing and talking about the principle is of no use. We must personally put it into practice. Only then can we understand the joy and happiness that come from helping others. By living out the principles, we experience peace of mind and Dhamma joy for ourselves. With every experience, we grow in wisdom. Spiritual cultivation is not only about hearing and understanding the Dhamma. We must do what we say and share what we have done. In this way, we can connect principles with methods. Through the threefold Dhamma of the teachings of the Dhamma, the practice of the Dhamma, and the realization of the Dhamma, we will be able to grow in wisdom and achieve the state where infinite Dhammador readily appear in front of us. Then we will attain great wisdom and completely understand all Dhammas. So we shall open up for meditation reporting and also Q&A. If you have any question, you can ask.
Good evening, Bratio, Mrs.
Yeah.
What meditation? Actually, meditation is just some experience.
Yeah.
No realization, so no wisdom.
Never mind, you just describe how you do it. Then after that, I can guide you.
For sitting, I can sit for about 1 hour.
Oh, very good.
But sometimes it took me quite long to get into that state.
Oh, never mind. It's okay.
Sometimes it's quite fast. Sometimes it's quite fast.
Initially, it's always like that. But
it fluctuates. The thing is that it fluctuates. Sometimes there's a lot of thought. Sometimes very calm.
That is a very good
Very fast.
that is a very good understanding. It shows you that this mind is not what you think. That's why you have to observe to understand. How come sometimes like that? How come sometimes it's very straightforward? Then how come sometimes it comes as a test for you? You have done your routine well, then you will be more and more consistent. Then you will settle down more and more quickly. Yeah. But sometimes when you want to force it, when you have a mind that has the desire to settle down fast, then you will have problem because that intention is a craving, and that one thing is a craving. That's why I always say just let things be silent. No need to do anything and let the mind move. Then you observe. You silence everything, maintain awareness. Then you will start to understand how with the religious routine, with the spiritual faculty, with the training, your mind is more orderly during the day. Then when you are more and more mindful throughout the day, that's why daily mindfulness is very important. Then when you have constantly listened to the Dhamma, reflect, contemplate, the spiritual faculty is always there. Then you realize meditation becomes very straightforward. You don't have to struggle or do anything. You just relax, maintain awareness, silent, you will go in. But sometimes it comes as a test for no reason. After a period of very stable, good meditative training already, then able to be with your true mind, silent mind, Then suddenly, one day, like everything go wrong. Never mind. Sometimes it's a test. You have to find out. Yeah. So your consistency actually makes a big difference to your mind state. So you have to observe all this to understand. Then you understand why I always say you must have a religious routine, daily religious routine. Means throughout the day you anchor yourself to this religious activity or spiritual training. Uh, so all these are very important understanding and point out like what coaching went through. Then sometimes you have to develop the uh, what we call motivation to go this way. Like what Pocheng did was he reflected on life, means the uncertainty of life, marana nusati, death is a reality, is a certainty, it can happen anytime. So that one drives the agency and all those things. Then the other one is like I said, when you see the importance, you go all out to train yourself, to cultivate. And this is how the saddha come, the virya come. Then the whole of the training will be there. So it's not about long sitting. It's not about like going to all the so-called retreat or whatever. It's about understanding what mindfulness is leading to heedfulness and why are you still not heedful most of the time throughout the day. That's why the daily mindfulness sati sampajana is a must to penetrate the higher teaching, the higher dhamma, to go beyond the superficial contemplative wisdom and understanding. So daily mindfulness is very important. Spiritual faculty is very important. The stability of it, a good daily religious routine. Daily means every day what you do. Like I always say, before you sleep, you meditate, you pay respect, you do your religious routine. Means our usual Dhamma session, but you cut short it because there is no Dhamma talk, nothing. You just pay respect to Triple Gem, then bow. Then after that, maybe you chant the salutation or you chant the three refuges, then renew your precepts, then meditate for a while. Initially, it can be 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Then after that, you share merit. Then you want to sleep, you sleep. Then you have more time before you sleep. You develop a longer period of meditation to silence your mind, to stabilize the inner awareness, the awareness nature. That one is very important. If your awareness nature is not stabilized, very difficult to progress because like Huineng say, all of meditation, you must have the understanding. You must not depart from the self nature. Self nature means the silent mind, the mind that has the first hallmark of Huineng, no thought, wu nian. That's why you have to try to relax, maintain awareness so that there is no thought to realize the stability of awareness and mindfulness. And that training is very important. Then after that, you will have very good sleep, very relaxed night of sleep, very peaceful. Then sometimes when you have developed the ability to maintain mindfulness before you sleep, you can continue to let the mind be aware until most of the time you're aware, then let it fall asleep. Then when you wake up, the first thing is remind yourself to be aware. Aware of what? Your posture. Then aware of how you move, how you get out, and how you actually go to the washroom and all those things. Then last time I always did this. The moment I aware of my posture, then aware of every movement, every action, how I come up and how I move to the washroom. Then most of the time, the moment I wake up, the first thing is I pay respect, triple jam. Sometimes I go to the washroom if I need to. Then I clean up myself. Then when I'm ready, I will do my meditation again. That is the early days when I was under training. So before you sleep, you do. After you wake up, you do. Then you start your day with daily mindfulness. Then when you come down to where your altar is, you pay respect. Then after that, everything mindful away. Then last time when I was working, I developed mindfulness and awareness until I moved to the car by driving until I reached the office. Then when I reach my office, I maintain awareness of every action, every movement. Then I meditate when I reach the office. Then I go there early. Uh, then after that, I start my work. I clear my thing and I maintain mindfulness and awareness. Then in between, if I got free time, most of the time is lunchtime, I go for early lunch, quick one. Then I come back, I meditate again. I silence my mind. Then I develop faith and all things. Then I read of Dhamma book. I listen to Dhamma when I was driving. So all this is a continuous routine. That's why I did it for 2 to 3 years. And everything fall into place. The stability of mindfulness, everything fall into place. Then the awareness, everything. And the understanding keep on unfolding. That's how understanding of cultivation is very important. So I realize for you, Pamasri,
Yeah,
your
Rafa.
emphasis on like trying to sit very long and go into that mind state that you think you have progressed or what is still a old conditioning. Because that is an old conditioning. The true understanding is you have to be very natural, very relaxed. When you need to see, you see. When you need to walk, you walk. When you need to contemplate, you contemplate. When you need to develop daily mindfulness, you develop. And your daily religious routine means continuously developing the training of the spiritual cultivation, the daily religious routine, and the daily mindfulness. Stabilize it. That one is the true cultivation. If you cannot be mindful and heedful in the midst of life, you don't stand a chance. Like the Buddha say, the heedful never die, whereas the heedless are as if dead. Okay, I pass back to you. You can continue with your description. After that, what happened? Yes,
Oh,
I want you to report. It will help you. It will help you.
yeah, I have my religious routine, and I realize my mind during the daily activities,
Mm,
I have less thought and more moment of awareness,
mm,
especially when I'm doing my household chores.
yeah.
Uh, I can see the sometimes there are sometimes I have this habitual tendencies of recalling some unhappy moments in the past.
Yeah.
uh, I can be aware of that thought is coming and
Yeah.
look at it and the thing subside.
Oh, okay. But don't worry about whether it's subside or not.
I can see
Initially,
it subside and then
I
I
know, I know. Pamasari, wait, you listen, because you had this problem, which is not a major one, but you need to correct it because you want answer very fast. First
yes,
is to observe, understand how this thing still condition you. Never mind, let it happen.
I always went into the habit to find
Oh,
out.
no, no, wait. Before you move into that, do you know you are using your thought again to reason, to analyze, and try to fix it? Then you think that is the way. That is where a lot of cultivators go wrong. What is needed is not to do all those things. That's why J. Krishnamurti said to observe without the observer. Just to observe without reaction, without any response. Just observe. Do you know that observation is from the true mind, the silent mind? You have to stabilize that. You have to observe until one day, all of a sudden, that mindfulness is so stable, it see and awaken and understand on itself. Then you realize you don't have to do anything. To root out the habitual tendency is an understanding. When you understand, it's gone. So this understanding comes from the Avijja Sutta training. Constantly listen to Dhamma, reflect, contemplate to arise the initial wisdom. Then the daily mindfulness, sati, sampajana, and other things. So all these are very useful. Without the daily mindfulness, the what they call penetrative wisdom leading to right view and stability of yoniso manasikara, they cannot arise, they cannot be there. So when it comes to training, just do. Don't try to know, don't try to analyze or reason. Unless after you come out of it already, you want to contemplate and reflect to develop more understanding. At that time, different. But when you are doing, just do. Silent. Don't try to know. Just aware, silent. Relax, maintain awareness. Just observe without words, without the atta, without anything. Just be mindful. Then the mind on its own, that nature, will understand. Then all the wisdom that you have developed through the first turning, second turning, and later on the third turning, they will arise as yoniso manasikara to prompt you and let you have clear understanding. Then like the aha moment, suddenly like you insight into phenomena. Then you suddenly understand profoundly, like what song they all went through. So always remember, it's not analyzing and trying to reason and get the answer and think that by doing that, you can actually overcome habitual tendency that you don't think like that. That one is all the thought active again, moving again, trying to seek answer and solution. No need to seek answer and solution. Without wisdom, you cannot understand. That is fundamental. With wisdom, it will understand by itself. Like Yoniso Manasikara. You have means you have. You don't have means you don't have. So how to develop it? To develop it, you have to listen to the Dhamma. Right? Constantly reflect, contemplate, and straighten your view. Then after that, you develop the daily mindfulness until very stable, until it silently observe, that is silently aware. Through the awareness, it will awaken, it will insight away. There is no thought involved. That is the real cultivation. So that part, listen to the sharing again, then have faith and just do. Like what Pocheng they all do. They just silence their mind and just do. Then when the nature transform, you will understand where you are connected to that nature through that form and mind. So there are a lot of these very subtle lack of clarity and understanding that you need to, like just now the Sutra of Infinite Meaning say, they will easily deviate because you don't have a clear understanding. The clear understanding is actually not easy to understand. But when you have the understanding already, that's why all these words may appear very simple, very straightforward. But if you don't get it right, you still will debate, you will interpret, and then you think this is the way, because the way of thought, thinking, analyzing, and reasoning become thought-based Dhamma. You understand? So that part is very important. But what you have done is good because your daily mindfulness, like you say, you are aware that you have less thought. That one is correct, which is a good sign. But you have to just silence your mind and continuously do until your mindfulness become very stable. Until throughout the day, whatever you do, the awareness is there. The mind enters sati. When the mind enters sati, everything you do is in sati. Then no words one. You see, you understand, it awaken you. That is the real spiritual transformation. Not through the thought, through the reasoning or those things. Okay? Hopefully,
Okay.
you can follow. Listen to this one. This one very important.
Yeah, thank you, Bratio. Sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu. Maybe today I will share that day the transcript. I sent out that day. I asked my daughter to put on it. The brother song sharing. Okay. Can you see now? Is
Yes,
it on the sharing? Okay.
yes.
So this one is the section transcribed by Sister Po Cheng from 1:25 until 1:54:56. I think Sister Amy also helped in the editing and the Mandarin aspect because Po Cheng's Mandarin not so good. So this one, after I edited it, it become very different. The first one that I sent out, I make a mistake because I checked later on, it was not edited. So this one is the edited version. So I will read now. So my daughter put it into 3 separate subtitles. First is thought-based meditation. It's not wisdom. So I will read to you, then hopefully you can understand. Thought-based meditation is not wisdom. So Brother Song, he reported his meditation. He said, I recently came to realize, even after having attended Brother Theo's explanation of the Six Patriarch Platform Sutra classes in the early years, the understanding was still mainly at the intellectual and contemplative level. However, this time around, when I watched the Master Huining's video, the Six Patriarchs video, short video clips, conversation again, especially Huining's explanation, the understanding this time around is so different. It is now so much clearer and very direct, and like I could fully understand or comprehend its deep meaning. The disciple of Sun Xiu who came to share and ask Huineng question had not realized their true mind. They were caught in thought-based meditation because their mundane mind are highly active, doing and creating duality. So this one you must be careful, Pamasari. Otherwise, a lot of cultivators fall into this trap. So when you move back to thought base without you realizing it, means your sankara is actively trying to understand. And that one is a trap. So when the thought or mundane mind are highly active doing and creating duality, they give rise to a lot of thought-based questions. They use thought which is limited and egoic to reason and analyze a situation or a problem basing on their limited views, opinion, and conditioning from memories. So this is not wisdom. Then I answered Brother Song. I said, yes. When Sun Xiu taught the Noble Eightfold Path, it was all thought-based. That is why when the Sixth Patriarch, during the exchanges with one of his disciples, asked, how did your teacher teach? So he said, my teacher say morality, which is sila, is abstaining from doing evil. Samadhi is concentration of mind. And wisdom is purification of one's mind. So you look at the answer. The disciple report to Huining. He said, since you teach this way, do you find it familiar with the Theravada teaching. Sila, Samadhi, and Panya. Sila means what? The first advice of the Buddha, avoid all evil. But here he says morality is abstaining from doing evil. So the meaning is quite close. But this is still thought-based. Do you understand? And I will explain why it is still thought-based. So avoiding evil is the advice of the Buddha. But when it comes to developing the spiritual practice and the training to truly penetrate the Dhamma, thought-based, Dhamma knowledge-based is not enough. So morality is abstaining from doing evil, appear like God Dhamma, beautiful. Then Samadhi, they always define as concentration of mind. That's why that one wrong. Then wisdom, purification of one's mind. But he never explained what that purification is and how it can be done. That's why it is still thought-based. After that, the sixth patriarch answered, he said, no, the real Noble Eightfold Path is not like that. It has nothing to do with all those things that Sensiu mentioned. The disciple was shocked when told what they had learned is Dhamma knowledge developed through thought-based cultivation and not the profound teaching that arise from the self-nature. The profound true teaching of Noble Eightfold Path is very different. The right view is based on penetrative understanding and awakening, developed through the three hallmarks of training. You must at least clear the first hallmark of no thought. Otherwise, you cannot have the direct seeing leading to the right view. Then when you have the right view, it's not about how to continue to arise right thought, right speech, and right action, like what Sensiu teach. Because right according to who? If you have not awakened, all your so-called right thought, right speech, right action is relative, according to the individual. So this part is very important. All these are still the initial cultivation that cannot lead to true awakening. Without a stable sati, wisdom, and stability of understanding, the Noble Eightfold Path cannot become a part of you. You cannot have the embodiment of all the Noble Eightfold Path factors. You need initial wisdom, the Yoniso Manasikara, born of the direct seeing, and wisdom, born of direct insight into phenomena. When that one arises, then naturally the four right effort can fall into place. When the third turning wisdom leading to awakening arises, the wisdom will prompt you at every moment of sense experience. Then you will know what the Buddha meant by Yoniso Manasikara after that. The initial wisdom must be there. Whereas what Sensiu taught them is to use memory and Dhamma knowledge. We are taught reasoning and analysis to try to overcome their defilement and solve their problem. All the explanations given are thought-based. That is why Huineng say, you cultivate like this or like that, you are wasting your time. You cannot awaken. You have to silence your mind to observe, to understand and to awaken. Then only all this become possible. Then you must reflect, contemplate until your understanding is very stable. Then from inside that nature, at the heart area, it will come out to prompt you. Well, this is wisdom. You have means you have. The whole understanding of the awakening is so different. So if you cannot understand how the real awakening arises, how can you teach people? Huining asked. You can't. There is no way. You will be stuck in knowledge and thought-based practices, coming out with teaching which are logical and interesting, but not from the direct seeing and awakening. So understanding the cultivation is especially important. When you meditate without understanding, it will not lead to awakening. It will make one gullible and lead one to thought-based and knowledge-based Dhamma. So realizing the true mind, the silent mind, is paramount and a prerequisite to meditate. That is why you must have sati, then stabilize the sati to become ever mindful, to realize the true mind. So realizing the true mind, the silent mind, then from there develop heedfulness is very important. This is the reason why Huineng explained, the Dhamma I teach or speak of, listen to this, do not depart from the self-nature. For to depart from the self-nature in explaining the Dhamma is to speak of marks and continuously confuse the cultivator. So now you understand. If it's not from the self-nature, it's not the direct seeing, you cannot awaken. You should come to realize that all Dhamma arise from that self-nature. And this is true. Sila, Samadhi, and Panya means from the self-nature you realize it. Then he gave the poem. He said, listen to my verse. And the disciple, after hearing this, become enlightened straight away. He said, my ground without evil or incapable of doing wrong thing implies self-nature morality. Means what? It's not from the thought. It's not from your views, opinion, and conditioning and memory. It's like what J. Krishnamurti said. The absence of evil is good. It's wholesome. So your mind ground is your mundane mind. When your mundane mind cannot arise evil or do wrong, that is the self-nature having sila, morality. Do you understand? It's so different. Then mind ground, which is composed, still, without confusion, that is your true mind. Understand or not? The mundane mind cannot be in that state of composed, silent, still awareness without confusion. So mind ground, composed, still, without confusion, means tranquil, like the Bodhisattva's mind and the great being's mind, implies self-nature samadhi. See, the definition is so different. This one is true understanding from the self-nature. Then mind ground without delusion means your mundane mind is incapable of being deluded without delusion, implies self-nature wisdom. The teaching is so different, so beautiful, so direct. I do not blame the Theravada tradition and other Buddhist tradition for all this lack of understanding, because the emphasis is traditionally on memorizing the sutta, chanting and doing all those thought-based sitting, walking, noting, focusing, and concentration via various methods and techniques, then repeating all that. Thinking those are meditation. All these are very mechanical, means repetitive practices, involving thoughts, and it will make the mind dull and rigid. Means day in, day out, they just repeat the whole thing, thinking that is meditation. So this one is a very important understanding. Then I continue. I say, at that time, there was no writing, and it has been like that for so long, and they depend heavily on commentaries. Then over the years, the teaching has become distorted. The true teaching is no longer taught by enlightened beings. That is the reason why you need the real cultivator who has the awakening to really come back, bring back the authentic and penetrative teaching to teach and to share the true Dhamma. That is the reason why initially when I wanted to come out to share, I find it so difficult to teach you all, because you all are so conditioned by all the various Theravada methods and techniques and way of teaching. The sutra text, the commentary-based teaching. Whereas the true understanding is from the silent mind, the true mind, the awareness nature. And I do not know why the meaning of sati was also not explained to people in a clear manner. That one, I think, maybe over the years, it must have been lost. When they translate into other language, it become more difficult. At least what Bodhidharma brought over to China, that one is still incredibly good and authentic. In the Maya tradition, they know what sati is. They call it 正念. I believe a lot of the Zen tradition, they do understand what the daily mindfulness is, what the awareness nature is, what the true nature is. But the real teacher who has the actual understanding, transformation, and realization may not be that many nowadays. Maybe only the patriarchs and their close disciples. That is why this type of teaching is not easy to come by. So what we have developed over the year is incredibly beautiful, especially now with our website, the short video, the transcribed books, and the various other valuable sharing. All this is going to help future generation and a lot of Kayamitas. If you can sincerely spend time listening to all this, you can really awaken. Try to write it down. What I say, write it down and read through it again. Sometimes you may think you know, because when you listen, the words are there for you to follow. That is as if it is incredibly beautiful. But when you close the book or do not refer to anything, just listen, you realize you cannot remember because your wisdom inside is still not stable yet. There is understanding, but it is not stable. So you need to write it down somewhere. Then the meaning can stand out and become incredibly beautiful. All this understanding that my nature and other true cultivator went through can arise is because we have cultivated them for exceptionally long time or period. Then when we share it, it just come out straight from the heart naturally. Then when you listen, it is like quite simple, quite easy, because everything has been summarized and clearly laid out. But when you write it down, the understanding is clear. That is why the transcript is useful and good. You read the transcript, then you realize all these are so beautiful. And that is why today's sharing, you can do the transcript, it is going to be incredibly beautiful, especially my earlier explanation. I realized this adapted verse sharing from this book, the essence of infinite meaning. So far, there is no transcript yet. So if you all have the time or have the interest, you should start with this because today's sharing is incredibly good. Okay, Brother Song, you can continue. I do not want to take up too much of your time. So before I go to section 2, section 1, now you understand. Without this transcript coming out, how many of you at that time when I shared on the 24th of June, this lesson 55, can capture what I say? Uh, Very few, very, very few. So that is the reason why you have to listen to it again and again, write it down, develop the stability or understanding. And with the transcript, it helps. Because when they do the transcript, I realize one of the Kahemita, I think, they find it not easy because there are certain parts, especially Polian. I think he got problem with the Pali word. When I read out the Pali word, he got problem. So it's not easy. But what we have done so far is very beautiful. So make full use of it. Read through it. When this book come out, it will help a lot of people. Okay, I will move on because we have only 12 minutes. Clarity of two minds, the true mind and the mundane mind. This one is very important understanding. We have Brother Song also came to know this is important. So Brother Song shared that the understanding of this path must be very clear. Means there are two minds. If were the old me in the past, I would immediately ask about my experience because that is to him more important. Uh, why like that? I would ask Brother Teo, and Brother Teo would say it's still from the thought that wants to know. During that time, There were lots of effort to cultivate. I only realized that recently. Now I could truly differentiate between the two minds. Thought wants to know why, and many whys in the past. Reason why, amazingly fast and easy, this habitual tendency would take over to stir the mundane mind to create question. Then I answered, this is the basic mistake of cultivator because they do not know how to differentiate these two minds. They always go back to the mundane mind, which has the memories, the views, the opinion, the conditioning, and the habitual tendency, and also the scars of memory, etc. And acting according to all this, which are thought-based, is not acting at all, because they are not wisdom, born of the direct seeing by the true mind, by the silent mind. That's the reason why I always tell you all that is from the thought. It is from the thought again. It has come back through the back door. The thought is still active behind. So this thought is the one who wants to know. So you have to inquire, who wants to know? The thought wants to know. Unless you can understand what J. Krishnamurti say about the limitation of thought, you will continue to use thought. Unless you can understand the danger of how thought divide and create duality through concept and words, you will never stop using thought. To you, thought is so beautiful, so useful and wonderful. But thought has its purpose and its place. Because to come to this existential world, to live life, you need thought. Thought is an instrument for communication, for expression, for learning the technical things, the arts, the science, etc. But when it comes to psychological memories and emotion, you cannot use thought. Where it is a waste of energy. Energy gets dissipated amazingly fast through thought. Because thought creates emotions. It will create stress, emotion, and negativity of mind state. And this one drain your energy. So thought has its purpose, and thought is respond to memory. It has its purpose, but not to apply it to psychological problem. Psychological problem needs Dhamma medicine. But to study technical subject, science subject, mathematical subject, IT, information technology, and everything else, you need to have thought. Without thought, the logical mind cannot function. And the logical mind needs to think. You must think with clarity. That is why the four bases of success will ensure mundane success. You know how to develop them and apply them appropriately. The first basis of success is to have passion, or in Pali, the Buddha called it chanda. For you to be successful in whatever you want to excel in, you must have this passion to do, to understand it. Then you go all out to do it. And that is virya, the strong tenacity of spiritual zeal to do. Then you have chitta, the willpower to drive you to succeed. Like they always say, if there's a will, there's a way. That one you need thought. You use thought. Then finally, the investigation part, vimamsa, to continuously review and improve. So understanding all this is not easy. That's why when I started to come out to share and teach, I realized that traditional Dhamma, commonly taught, is extremely limited and very dogmatic. They cannot expand into all this to develop the understanding. So that is the reason why I knew they will fail, because I understood acting according to memory or acting according to Sutra knowledge is not acting at all. You need to develop insight, wisdom, and awakening to act. Then only you can penetrate all this. And to penetrate all this is not easy because you need the silent mind. And this silent mind's understanding, I've been trying to teach you all for so long. Only recently, in the last few years, it started to take shape and bear fruits. Then, like what you mentioned last time, you still cannot understand all this because a lot of your question came from the thought. And basically, these thought processes arise from the mundane mind, which is still deluded, hence limited and egoic. If you cannot differentiate between the two minds and develop the clear understanding, then you cannot be free. So for you, Song, this understanding is incredibly good. But do reflect, contemplate, and realize the big difference between the mundane mind and the true mind. You must have a clear understanding of these two minds. Otherwise, you will continue to fall back to the mundane mind. Like you say, habitual tendency, deep-rooted habitual tendency, which recently you come to realize. It is not easy to root out all this habitual tendency. You must combine what I share with you and J. Krishnamurti's teaching. It is very good of J. Krishnamurti to point out that thought is limited. But he didn't go into the detail to explain why thought is limited. I had explained it to you all, what thought is. And from there, you will get the understanding. Because basically, when we are with the true mind, it's just spacious awareness. And there is no content of consciousness yet. That is why thought cannot arise. There is just an awareness. But when you use your memory to perceive, that perception brings in the external form, then your views, opinion, and conditioning enable your content of consciousness to go in, then it creates a thought. Obviously, that thought is limited because whenever you perceive something, you shrink that pure awareness or consciousness into that limited or narrow field or space, like the Buddha image. You zoom into it. Then the content of consciousness, which is mainly your views, opinion, conditionings, and comment, etc., goes in. Then it becomes a thought. So that is why thought is limited. And that thought is egoic because it comes from delusion before you become enlightened. So that is the reason why, not until you are enlightened, you do not know how to use thought. That's why the user of thought is particularly important. When the user of thought has Dhamma, has wisdom, that thought becomes right thought, wholesome thought, beautiful thought. Then you can use thought. Then thought becomes your friend, a tool to serve you, no more problem. Otherwise, it will condition attachment, craving, clinging, grasping, and self-delusion or sakayaditi. Then you will always revert to thought. Yeah, that is the only instrument that deluded human being understand. So see all this clearly. Understand all this clearly, then you will never revert to using thought to deal with psychological problems. Then you will know why thought has its place in life, in society, but not in the psychological world, not for Dhamma awakening and understanding, not for cultivation. When it comes to cultivation, you must realize the truth, which is beyond thought, beyond mind. So you must understand all this very clearly. Then only you can have the true penetrative clarity and understanding to cultivate accordingly. With all this explanation, I hope you all can understand. It is not easy to understand this teaching where it's not what you think. So this is incredibly beautiful. Then I say, Brother Song, thank you so much for bringing out all the conditions for my nature to explain all this. This part is difficult to understand and very profound. But slowly, there is condition already because otherwise the sharing will not have all this clear and profound understanding that I just shared. To recap, this is for you to understand clearly why the mundane mind is egoic and has its limitation. Why it is limited and why it is egoic. Why you cannot use it to cultivate Dhamma and apply it to solve your life problem, especially psychological problem. When you act according to memory, you are not acting at all because you are not acting according to understanding or wisdom. Mainly because you do not have the Yoniso Manasikara yet. Then the whole cultivation will go haywire. That is why people tend to always use their intellect, their Dhamma knowledge to try to practice Dhamma. You cannot. So all this understanding will become truly clear when you cultivate correctly from the self-nature. Okay, Brother Song, sadhu to you. Then Brother Song reply, yes, sadhu, Brother Teo. And then the third part, I think we stop. We will continue next lesson. All this is part of cultivation because Brother Song, after he heard the earlier comment and suggestion or advice given by me, he went back and reflected and contemplated, and he come out with this three sharing, which is very good to benefit other Kalyanamittas. So the third one also very beautiful. All these are part of the cultivation. Then you will not get trapped by the thought again. Otherwise, the question will come back. Why like that? How come like that? After already so stable the mind, how come now still like that? So all this are still from the thought because people can't understand. Okay, so let us rejoice. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, we have to share merit, transfer merit first. Then after that, we open up for maybe fellowship. Yeah, about 10 minutes today. Because this one is very good. So this part is relevant for all, especially those who are serious cultivators. Then if you listen to all this sharing, your cultivation will become very different. It will become like very clear, very direct. Then you will not go wrong. This is to help you root out all your habitual tendency, your conditioning from the past, because these are new understanding that a lot of you all haven't cultivated before, but you haven't met the true teaching, the people who have the true understanding. So it takes a while, it will take time, but slowly it will be beautiful because as long as you have faith, sincerity, and you persevere, all this will unfold. Okay?
Brother，就刚才你读的这个 part 还有接下来那个后面的那个 part， 其实我在那天你在给那个 sharing 的时候，我就觉得这个是很重要，很重要，因为你的这个 sharing 是 for 那个real 它的那个 the way of the cultivation，那个它的那个怎样的去 cultivate 到那种
真正的修行，
对。那时我有跟金浩他们讲，我讲哇，这个最后这两个 sections
很重要。
那个 explanation 是 direct to 那个 how to 怎样的直接的去 cultivate， 对 ，but very difficult to understand，but 它是要很要过后那个 transcript 出来了以后，要一直慢慢的去
要去了解，要去 contemplate 去 reflect， 很多人还没有做到这一段。Except you and Pocheng and a few others. And most of them haven't done until this stage. That's why you can actually appreciate it because you have done until this stage and you went through a lot of this questioning. That's why you can actually benefit and you can create the condition for this sharing. But this teaching wants to come out. So I say, if there is no condition, what I understand from my nature cannot come out. You need condition because otherwise when I speak too early ahead of time, nobody can follow, nobody can understand. So all this need condition. That's why it's very beautiful. I always say thank you so much Brother Song for arising the condition at that time. And it was so beautiful. Now with the transcript come out, you can see the whole thing becomes so different. Then there is one or two parts which I think is from the 6th Patriarch Platform Sutra. I just add it in so that the story becomes clearer. Mind ground, all the mind ground, the verse, the poem that Huining actually shared. Otherwise, people cannot understand. That I explain why Sensi one is not from the self nature. So like Huining say, to speak Dhamma apart from the self nature is like talking about mark and so the mark of a self, the mark of others, and the mark of life, Dhamma, everything. So all these marks are still there. How can you break through Sakayaditi? How can you free the mind? Then they don't know what that silent mind is, because since you haven't penetrated, he hasn't realized the true mind. That's why he cannot teach that way. And his teaching is limited. Limited. From the poem, you know already, the two are world apart, the understanding. Good. Song, you continue.
Yeah. So brother， 你那时候你 share 的那个那个 talk， 其实我有一直 repeat 去听。那么有很多的那个advice 里面，它有很 deep 的那种 meaning。这差不多好像有它每一个的 paragraph 都有一个很 deep 的那种 meaning 在里面。我们要去 understand， 要去 understand 了以后，我们才能够做到的。
对。
如刚开始你只是这样子听来assume that 你会知道 but 它的
不会的，不会，not so easy。
The inside 它有很 deep 的那个 understanding 要去了解，不然的话是又是在那种 knowledge wise 里面。
所以 I have to expand on it, otherwise not easy for you to understand. Even Pocheng told me, he said, "But after you edited it, after you expand on it, wow, it becomes so clear. Because when I share, I summarize everything. Because to me, from my nature, come out. These are the things you need to know. But if I don't expand on it and explain, a lot of you all cannot follow. Then I had to bring out J. Krishnamurti's teaching to make it clearer for you. Otherwise, you cannot penetrate all this. Sadhu, very good. Yeah, you continue. So.
Yeah， 这是就因为你那天有跟我讲说你的 advice 是想说要多做 contemplation。That's why 我最近就一直在问我自己，我要like the Dharma so wide， 我要怎样进入我要从哪一个法？后来我就想到你之前一直有讲到那个什么一切有为法如梦幻泡影，如露亦如电，应作如是观。我那个时候我就拿这一个 stanza 来做 contemplation，but 我 realize that 这个 stanza 它只不过是一个 summary， 一个 conclusion。So but 它的 insight 有很多的 basic 的 essential dharma， 如果我们不能够understand 的话，你不能够来到这个 conclusion 的 understanding。
对。
From there
penetrate the deep meaning。
Yeah， 然后就 from there 我就拿回你以前很 basic 的那个 Who am I, What am I 的那本书。
That one you have to start from there。
对，我就从那一本书里面，我就开始的又在 go through， 慢慢的就是去
Otherwise 你不能够 penetrate the emptiness, the non-self and the 空性 empty nature existence。无常普无我，无我是空性。Because non-self is empty nature existence. Because that one is not a permanent unchanging entity. So the form and mind is not you. Whereas the true mind, the true nature, the nature within, but that one is not a being. It cannot come out and live life. So again, it's anatta, non-self, empty. That's why the Buddha says sabbe dhamma, whether conditioned or unconditioned, is still anatta, non-self. So he says sabbe sankhara anicca. Sabbe sankhara dukkha. This first two characteristics is still sankhara one. But the third one, he says sabbe dhamma, means all dhamma, whether conditioned or unconditioned, is still anatta. That one is very profound. So the unconditioned is also anatta. It's not a ultimate self or atman or what. No, you cannot claim that that is you. That one cannot come out and live life. It's just a nature, the original nature, the true nature.
So
nature, yeah.
那以前我有看了几次了的这本书，我这一次我在看的时候，我发现到了很多的keywords 在里面，我以前都不能 没有注意到的。我
对
这一次我能够注意到很 deep 的
对对
，although 那个 key 只是在那个只是一个 words，but 那个
对
words so important，so 它是一个 key words 来的。
呀呀呀
我这一次看到很多的 key words 在里面。
啊，以前看不到啊，
对
现在
对
看得到。Because
因
you
为
have reflected, contemplated, and you diligently cultivate your daily mindfulness and all the penetrative understanding. That's why you start to develop this understanding. And when you can see clearly the two mind, it makes a big difference to your cultivation. We have to be able to understand the two mind is the beginning of the higher practice, the higher training.
然后这一次我在看的时候才讲，哇，怎么里面有这么样多的那个 Dharma 在里面
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
啊！
yeah.
我这一次看的时候，哇，我想说很多的 Dharma 全部在里面，
Yeah, that's
我
why
就
infinite meaning.
呀，
Infinite meaning.
所以我这一次我在读的时候，哇，里面一直好像很 subtle 的，一直在 vibrating，哇，就是很多的那个，就是讲说，哇，很 penetrate 啊。这一次我在看重新看过的时候，
对
那 and then 尤其我发现到我最近看到这个字的时候是 duality 哦，
Yeah,
很像
yeah,
这
yeah.
个 wording 很
Very meaningful now.
对对，它整个很像一直 stand up， 一直 stand up 这样子。
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
我在听回因为 in between 我有听回那个这个55的那个sharing， 然后我又在看这个 Who am I What am I 的时候，每次一听到 duality， 还有从那个书里面看到 duality 这个字的时候， 哇，很像来这个它的那个 meaning 哦，就我讲怎么这次这个字哦的那它一直像 stand up
The
stand up，
meaning like very clear to you.
对对对，
因为这个就是你们华语讲啊，分别心嘛。Then the English word is very good. It's a duality. It's like yin yang. Yin yang, the opposite. Duality is created by thought, by the mundane mind. That's why mind is a forerunner of all things. So Krishnamurti also very wise. He saw. That's why he said, when you silently observe, you realize how thought divide. He also mentioned the word duality. So all this duality come from thought, come from the concept, the word, and the idea created by thought. That's why he said thought is limited. Thought is egoic. The evil root are there because of the ego, sacrality, the personality. So he saw thought very clearly. That's why he never used thought unless for living, for non-psychological usage. So he is very good, very, very good. So this understanding all very beautiful. In fact, the Buddha's teaching has all this, but it's not put into words that people can understand. That's why Vijay Krishnamurti's day-to-day language, it can stand out. Although the two teachings look so different, but it's actually pointing towards the same teaching. That's why the Buddha used the Pali explanation. Imas means sati, idang hoti. When this arises, that opposite duality arises. That's how it divides. Then imas means asati, idang arhoti. When this ceases, you don't create. The other side of the duality also ceases. That's how it can free the mind. Then like Huineng said, originally there was nothing. Where can the dust alight? Where you created the dust through the mundane mind. The idea, the ideology, the words, the concept, like race, religion, belief system, nationality, divide into so many and create conflict, create misunderstanding, war, everything. That's how it happened. So this is what Dhamma is, cause of arising of suffering by the thought, which is egoic and limited. So if you are not silent, observing clearly, you cannot see the difference. Then you think the thought is you, your friend. That is the only instrument human beings know how to use. That's why they are caught in memory. Their thought is respond to memory. So they memorize by heart, Dharma knowledge, commentary, everything, Sutra. So I say I don't blame them because their approach has been like that, and he has been taught for so long in this manner. That's why over the years, the true Dhamma, like distorted, gone, no longer authentic. That's why very few that has the understanding is around to teach or to share all this. So through all this understanding, you check for yourself, you will know all the Dhamma that you all used to listen and the Dhamma book that you all used to read, mainly thought-based, mainly. So very good song. Anything else?
没有迟了了，不
有了
，maybe
yeah,
我们
you
下
got
一
it. Yeah,
我们
下一次再 have
下个 class 我
more
们
time. Yeah, then
刚
we
才在
continue.
的时候，我突然间
对对
全部 connect，把他们全部 connect，讲哇，这个 duality 全部跟那个你刚才讲那个 Bali wording 全
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Become very beautiful, very.
对对对，我们下一堂课才来
可以可以可以，因为还有2段还没有开。
呀
Then
呀那个
we
最后一段
still
很重那
waiting
两
for
段
Jayanta, Dr. Jayanta. Jinhao, are you there? Jinhao,
Yes, yeah, brother.
you managed to contact Dr. Jayanta on his part.
Well, he haven't returned my call. I think I will.
You try to call him and see if he has problem because he's very busy. I understand now a lot of COVID case and he's very busy. Then maybe we ask Sister Ingbi to help him out.
Yeah,
see
no problem.
which part he has done, then the rest we get Sister Ingbi to help him out. But his portion is not easy. This one I was told by Sue is split into 3 area all the time, like the slot all in between.
Okay, no problem. I'll check with him
I will
again.
try to call him.
Yeah.
Then let him understand that if he's busy, no problem. We will try to help him out.
Okay. Yep.
The Sister Ingbi's transcript will be very good because I don't have to spend so much time. Otherwise, the Pauliano now, wow, I have to spend quite a lot of time listening to all the things because the yellow marking you all put in, all these are the Pali words. The imas means sati idang hoti, you all couldn't understand. So because of that, but luckily the first 2 part I think is easier. So I just listen to the recording again because you all didn't transcribe the actual word for word. You all go and use your own word. That's why some of the thing run. Then I have to actually explain the thing or rewrite it so that it can give expand on it so that it can give the clear meaning. Okay,